Hi, everybody. My name is Laurie McDermott, and I run the website, thewifeexpert.com. Today, I actually had a guest that was coming on who was so excited to talk to me, and then he disappeared. And I actually coach women, and they always say, "Oh, I don't know what happened to this boy I was dating, and he just never showed up." And my comment is, "Oh, well, if he didn't show up for the date, maybe he died. Because who would blow you off? Why would that even happen?" So my point today is someone has canceled on me, or not even canceled, just kind of maybe got cold feet, maybe just disappeared. I don't know. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to do my little event today, because I have my little engineer here and we're ready to go. So I was waiting for this opportunity actually, because I want to talk to you guys about the other woman. The other woman. Who is she? We call her Horseface. Well, I call her Horseface. How did that start? I had someone calling her whore, and then someone else calling her whoreface, and I didn't think that was very kind. So we came up with a word called horseface, which I love it, right? Because we actually can say that word in public and no one knows what we're talking about. And it's really funny because I had a call or an email from a woman who had said, I was talking to a lawyer and I said something about my horse face. And I said, "Oh, sorry." And she said, "A fair partner." And the lawyer said, "Isn't that interesting? I just had another client call her horseface as well." So I am so glad this word is getting out there. But remember, it's a secret. So if someone's saying that word, you know they are dealing with a woman who has stepped into a relationship with a married man. So let's define what a married man is. Any married man is someone who is married. I don't care if they're separated or not living with their wife or living in a different city or living in a different country, and they say the words, "My wife doesn't understand me," or "My wife is she's so busy, she doesn't give me any attention." This does not mean the door is wide open for next girl to come in, horseface, and take over the place of making this man feel good while his wife is away, or while his wife is not even knowing this horseface exists. Horseface. Let's talk about Horseface a second. Is she a nice person? I don't know. Is she a good person? I don't know. Is she stepping in between a man and a woman who are married? Yeah. And when you do that, you face the consequences of what happens to you. It doesn't matter what's happening to the wife or what's happening to the husband. That is between them. And as long as they remain married, everyone else needs to just stay away. It doesn't matter what the husband says about whatever, what the wife says about whatever. A man and a woman who are married, stay away. Warning sign. If they don't want to be together anymore, let them get divorced before you even begin to enter in a relationship with someone. Now, okay, by the way, there's all kinds of sirens going on. I'm so sorry about that. Seems to be a wild day in LA, but that just means life is continuing and we're going to keep talking. So going back, if there is someone stepping between a man and a woman, she's going to lose. He's going to lose. Why? Because there's so many uncontrollables. If you are single, never, ever, 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 I don't know how many times to say that, touch or get into a relationship with a man or a woman who is married or separated. Let them solve that first. If they still have a ring on or a commitment to someone else or have kids with someone else, you will be second. I always tell this to wives who are, "I'm a second wife and things are not going well." Okay. "I'm a third wife and things aren't going well." Okay. You're going to have a hard time. Why? Because the first marriage, unless it's like a year or two, the first marriage, anytime it's over 10 years, there's some bonds there. And it is extremely difficult to break those bonds, even if that man and woman have separated or divorced. That man or woman has given their life over to that first marriage. And yes, there's a second marriage, there may be a third, but there's a story about a tree in a bad storm. So a tree has roots. The roots grow into the ground. They grow deep. When the storm comes, the roots actually grow deeper and deeper to withstand the storm. Now, if the tree is ripped out and replanted, i.e., the second marriage, they never fully attach. So, can they attach a little bit? Yeah. Do you have a marriage like you would have if you were first? No. Sorry, that's just how this exists. If the person or people or husband or wife has kids with the first marriage and you're getting the second marriage, you're second. Kids from the first marriage have more importance than the second wife or husband. That is how I feel. That is how this goes. It is not fair to those kids to be second in line to some new person that just shows up out of nowhere because husband or wife couldn't get along with the first wife or husband. Those are just my feelings, because those poor kids bore the brunt of whatever happened in the first marriage, and they are doing their best to survive. And now mom and dad have separated, and now dad or mom gets a new person, and I'm second to this new person. Holy crap. How is this going to work out for me? It doesn't. Keep that in mind. First marriage kids, more important than second marriage spouses. That's what I say. Okay, I do want to go through something. Let's just do it. So I got an email from a woman a couple months ago about something, so it's kind of complicated. But point is, it's a letter from Horseface to the public about what happened to her when her boyfriend, who is married but separated, wink, wink, got into a relationship with her, and she kept trying to pull the man away from his wife when he kept going back to his wife. No, I'm more important. Come back to me. And if you're a woman who is playing with a married man and he goes back to his wife, let him go, for God's sakes. That is where he belongs. It's his first wife. Let him figure that out. But that's not what happens. Once a woman stakes claim to a man, it is hers and she wants him and she's going to stop at nothing. But what's going to happen? We all know what's going to happen. Sooner or later, he may or may not go back to his first wife. I've seen the data on this. I've been doing this for 10 years. That's what happens. There's a joke out there that says, I forget it. Oh my God. I'm not going to rewind this. I'm fallible. I'm not perfect. But the joke is something about, if you want to be happy, don't. Oh no. If you want to be rich, don't divorce your first wife. There's truth to that. Okay. So here's a letter from a Horseface. And I think she posted this online. When her boyfriend, married to some other woman, went back to the wife for like the 10th time. Here's what she says. I think the best word to describe how I'm feeling right now is stunned. The word would be closely followed by numb and confused. But maybe the best word of all would be heartbroken, because he left me again for his wife. Hello. I'll let you take a moment to laugh, roll your eyes, straighten your body, and say, I told you. Go right ahead. I know you feel, you're reading this, and you know you want me to get hurt because I'm the other woman. Tell me I deserve this. Tell me I got what was coming to me. Because, well, yeah, I should never have believed for a moment that we would be a couple that would beat the odds. Because they're not a couple. Sorry, I'm going to add my comments just like that. What makes me so special to believe for a moment that I would actually get what I wanted? I've been telling myself my whole life that when things are too good to be true, they probably are. And I was right. Again, every bad thing I thought could be left to happen, happened. Side note, that's because she's thinking something bad's going to happen, but I'm not going to defend her because she's Horseface. Anyway, let's keep going. Because when you think bad things are going to happen, they usually do. It was like I had written it into life in the beginning. Then Saturday before last is when the hammer came down and shattered any remaining possibilities that he and I could make this relationship work. We had, in the beginning, in my opinion, a perfect morning. We woke up together, cuddled, kissed, had sex, and then went downstairs to have coffee. He left an hour or two after that, and before bed, we talked on the phone like we always do, except for some reason on that night, I felt compelled to ask him about some things. You see, he's never been very forthcoming about what is going on in his life or in his head, whether that be good or bad. Side note, Horseface never gets to know the real husband. Horseface never gets to really know what's going on in the man's head. Why? Because he doesn't tell her. He doesn't have to. She's a blanket. She's just a blanket. And the blanket goes on and he feels good. Why is he going to tell her what's going on with his wife, his kids? He's just going to let it go so she doesn't think it exists. But it does. Okay, let's keep going. Essentially, I asked him when he thought his divorce would be final, when his financial situation would change so that he could move back in with me and start helping out with the rent and all of the bills. Nothing could have prepared me for his answer. Well, my 2 top priorities now are seeing my kids more and getting more out of debt in the next 4 years. I need some wiggle room here before I am going to be able to move back in. She says, well, like how much wiggle room? The panic already beginning to grow inside of her. Maybe sometime in the next 12 months or so, things will be better. I'll be able to afford it. This is her talking. It felt like the air had gotten sucked out of the room and there was nothing left for me to breathe. He wasn't going to be moving back in. Maybe he was never planning to move back in. Are you serious? I asked him. We've come so far and we've gone through so much. Not compared to the wife. You're on the brink of a finalized divorce and you're actually saying to me you're not going to move back in with me? He says, I just can't print money, sweetie. I'm drowning in debt. You need to get a job. You need to take some responsibility for yourself. And then the knife came home. I didn't really work my entire life to end up being in Section 8 housing. I guess she's in Section 8 housing. So back to her story. Months ago, when he was doing everything he could to convince me to give him another chance, he told me everything I'd ever wanted to hear from him. All of the things he dreamed of for our entire future together, that he wanted to marry me, that he wanted to have children with me, that he wanted a chance for me to be his daughter's stepdad, and how he loved her just like he loved my kids, just like he loved his own. Then, when I was utterly freaking out about the prospect of not being able to afford to stay where I lived, when I was panicking over whether my daughter would be able to finish her senior year of high school in this expensive town, he said he would be there for me. He said he never planned on leaving me. He told me not to worry. He told me that we would figure out the financial things together and we would make things work so he could stay here with me and my daughter. So, of course, this is what I confronted him with. Why did you say all of those things? Why did you tell me that you would stay with me? Why did you tell me we would figure things out? Did you not mean them? He says, I wanted to mean them when I said them, he said. I said them to get you to calm down. I didn't know what else to do. He didn't know what else to do except lie to me. Lying was something that came easily to him in our relationship. It was easier to lie to me than it was to tell me the truth about something because he didn't want me to get upset, or at least that's what he told me. This is probably what he would have continued to tell himself and me for as long as we stayed together. He kept doubling down on his reasons we shouldn't be living together, reasons why it should never work. I couldn't believe what I was hearing for the person who, only months ago, was listing every reason why we should be together and all the shitty behaviors he would work on to try to change just to get me back. There was a moment of clarity when I really wondered whether he'd been drugged or struck dumb. A dam had been unleashed, and he started saying things to me that apparently he's been feeling for quite some time now and never had the guts to tell me. And I don't blame him because they are awful. He says, I feel like I've been walking on eggshells around you for the last 6 months, scared that any little thing I do or say will have a potential to make you flip out. I hate that you can't even enjoy the time I spend with my kids now. When I'm with them, I'm not even spending time with you. I think you're jealous and angry that you're not getting my attention, or think you don't want me to see them because you think it'll make me want to go back home. I just want to go to bed early sometimes without having you follow me or making me cuddle with you because it makes me think you just want to have sex, and then I feel bad if I don't want to because I don't want to let you down. Oh, wait. Oh, wait. Here comes the big point. And yeah, sometimes I think I resent you for all of this. Now we go back to her. Well, you can't fix that. We were cautious with our phone conversations for the next few days, hardly texted at all, tiptoeing around the fact that there was this life-changing elephant standing in the middle of the room. By Tuesday or Wednesday, he was acting like it hadn't even happened. I had to call him out on it. Look, I said, we've had some serious things to talk about, and until we're ready to do that, I really prefer not to keep up with this stupid chit-chat. So we didn't talk. Not until he showed up at my door on Friday afternoon with his bag, his pillow, and his hairbrush in hand, and an air of anxiety around him. I can't talk today. Then we sat on the couch and hashed things out. He said he couldn't do it. He couldn't leave me. Of all the things that he told me he was going to do, he was trying to get me back. He said he couldn't commit to me right now, and all he needed and wanted me to know was that he didn't want this half long distance thing, and he wanted a relationship with me that had lasted more than 4 years. At least he was right about that. Then he said, "You deserve better than this." Now I know he was right about that too. But by that night, I couldn't stop asking over and over through my tears, why? Why did you go to all this trouble? Why did you go all this trouble filing for divorce and saying you'd never leave me if you knew in the end you didn't mean it? He didn't have a good answer other than what he said. He wanted me back. He loved me. He was happy when he was with me. He wanted to be with me. He wanted to figure things out with me. He wanted to make things work with me. He just couldn't figure out a way to ever make things work. For a while, in the last few days, he even still wondered whether the entire thing had come down to money. He was really drowning in debt. His current financial situation was paying him out more each month than he brings in. So he was putting more things on his credit cards, like the gas he uses to come see me and the dinners and drinks he pays for me when we go out together. So he's just racking up even more debt. I understand that he never wanted to move in with me unless or until he could contribute equally to our household. But I never would have imagined that it was his inability to do that would lead him to thinking the best idea would be just to break up once and for all and forever. I just didn't understand. How could he say he loves me and then lies to me so much? How could he say he loves me and then leaves me just when I needed him the most? My disabled daughter would be turning 18 in December and will be graduating from high school next June. And yet, I still have no idea what my future looks like with her or with us. It's something I've been scared of for such a long time, and our relationship became something I finally thought was good enough that I could start relaxing. At least I didn't have to go through life with my daughter by myself, I thought. She loved my boyfriend. My daughter loved having my boyfriend around. She was nicer to me when my boyfriend was with us. She would actually sit down at the table and eat dinner with us while he was here. She would never do that if it was just her and I. She actually liked having a man around. She needs a man. When he lived here, sometimes they would bump into each other in the mornings when he was going to the office, and she would wake up early to get ready for school. He told me once, with his eyes filled with tears, how much it killed him that my daughter would tell him every morning, "I hope you have a good day," while his own daughters never asked him or called him or never spoke to him at all. She would ask every week, "When is he coming back, Mom?" I don't know, I had to tell her in the last 2 weeks. Because he wouldn't tell me anything. He would consider planning things with me as if we were actually partners. He would just do whatever he wanted, and he'd see me when he could. At least that's how it felt to me. It's been 4 days now, and I haven't heard from him, and I don't have the heart to tell my daughter that he's never coming back and that she will never be seeing him again. She asked this evening when he was coming home, and again, I had to tell her, I just don't know. Because I didn't feel ready to tell her the truth. It isn't because I think that in a matter of days he could flip-flop on me and tell me he was wrong and that he never meant to push me away and that he wants to come back and he wants to be with me forever again. No, it isn't going to happen like that this time, the way it happened all those other times. He told me he felt resentment towards me. You can't walk that one back in after it's been let out into the open. You can't fix anger. You can't fix apathy. And you have to even sometimes work on distrust and betrayal. But you can't fix resentment. At least I don't think you can. And my guess, I'm the only one that matters here. The simple truth is, if he doesn't want to be here, I don't want him to be here either. If he doesn't want to be with me, and he thinks he would be happier without me, if he thinks he'd be free of debt, if he thinks being free of debt would feel better than being loved by me, well, that's that. Of course, you can't argue that might not be the reason he's leaving me. He's a proven liar many times over and could easily be lying to me once again. Maybe nothing about what is going on in his divorce is true. Maybe he's been lying to me this whole time, that since we've been back together, he really wants to be back with her. Maybe he's finalized what his divorce would do to his finances, to his family, to his future, and he called it off just like I was afraid of, and already planned on moving back home. Maybe I'll never know, but it doesn't matter anymore. It's over and he's gone. I just can't believe this happened to me again. I can't believe that after all this time, after all we've been through, this is how it ends. Okay, side note, 4 years compared to wife's 20 years. Hello, back to her. But again, why should I be so surprised? Why should I be surprised at all? I have always believed he would eventually leave me because everyone always ends up leaving me. Side note. Wow. Everyone always ends up leaving me. This woman, whoever wrote this, she's dating the wrong people. Clearly, stop dating married men. Okay, back to the story. Back to her. She says, I guess I'll just try to keep feeling glad that I got to spend this much of my life with him, knowing him and being loved by him. I feel like I can even at least walk away with that. I won't feel like I did the last 4 years of my life, and I won't feel like they were worthless. Or at least that I'm worthless. At any rate, I miss him already, and I'm sure I always will. But I sincerely hope he can find whatever he needs to find in his life to be happy. My baby, my skin twin, my whole heart. I feel like if I can even at least walk with it away with that. Oh, I already said that. Here we go. Here's the last line. After she says, my babe, my skin twin, my whole entire heart, she says, everything in the world feels broken to me now. That was exhausting. I hope you guys followed that. I did say some things wrong in there, like I said it the wrong way. Hope you can go back and listen to this again. The bummer about this whole thing is this woman who's been with this man for 4 years having an affair, and he keeps going back to his wife and coming back to her. He used her. He has a wife and children and a home and friends and in-laws and friends at church or, people and work people. He has a whole life over there. And then he escapes over to this strange person and has this fantasy life that's not real. This woman who read that story, or who was the person I was just reading in the story, she didn't know him. She just knew the fantasy side of him, the nice side, the easy side, the side that lies and says, I'm always going to be here, when he has an entire library of people and things he hasn't shared with her. And that's what happens to horse faces. They don't get the whole guy. They just get a little bit. And they create their own fantasy about what they think is really happening. And it's not real. And it's not true. So, if you have a horse face, or if your partner is having an affair, go back and listen to this. This is what the affair partner is saying. He belongs with me. I can make you happy. You make me happy. I need you. Blah, blah, blah. When they met, they weren't on solid ground. They were on sand. They were on liquid. When you first meet someone, if you're not tied to somebody else, you can be on solid ground. But if you're separated or still married, you don't have everything to give to somebody else. So if you go into a partnership with someone who doesn't have everything to give you, you're not going to get everything. You're going to get a little bit. And then I dare ask you, woman who wants to date a married man, why would you settle for that shit? Find someone who's available. Find a man who's single, whose wife died, who's never been married. Start over there. Don't attach yourself to a man who's still married or separated. It's not worth it. You're going to have so much pain and misery. Plus, the spouse who's married to the guy out looking for someone else is going to have a lot of sadness too. Do we want to create that kind of sadness and continue it forever? No, don't do it. I want to share with you guys a story that happened to me when I was younger. I think it was like 22. And I was at this thing and I met this man and he was 20 years older than me. And he was like, my wife doesn't understand me. I'm so miserable. And I was like, oh, that sucks. And he invited my girlfriend and I to go to this it was a Bulls game. I actually met Michael Jordan, but that's another story. It was interesting because he kept telling me how miserable he was in his marriage. And I kept thinking to myself, okay, well, go home. Never touched him, never did anything with him. I got to go to a free game, but I think he wanted more. But I was raised by parents who taught me, don't do that. Let's start raising our kids to have respect for marriage. That when someone is married or separated, you leave them alone or guide them back to their spouse and help them figure out what's happening to them. The worst thing that I hear happen to people happened to me when my husband was off trying to figure out his life and having an affair. I would go to people and say to them, my husband's having an affair and I don't know what to do. And I would sob and cry. And a majority of people said, and leave him, screw him, fuck him, forget him. You deserve better. They told me all these things to run away and do these other things. But I knew my husband was a great man. I just figured something was wrong. He had something going on inside of him that was giving him an opportunity to make poor choices. He wasn't a bad guy. He just was in a mode of making bad choices. And I knew, based on talking to God and talking to some of the right people and getting the right answers, that I could do things that would change that. And that's what I teach. And if you're getting to this point right now, please hit the subscribe button so you hear and you're notified when I release something else that I want you to hear about. And if you know anyone going through this, share this with them. My goal is to teach people, don't have an affair with a married man. Don't even step into the ring with a married man because you're going to get knocked out and it's going to hurt. And you're going to waste in this girl's case, 4 years of her life she wasted with somebody. Why? Make better choices for yourself. Don't do that. Do the right thing. The coolest thing that ever happened to me is when I started doing the right thing, when I said to God, okay, you got me. Here, I'm gonna stay married, even though my husband's off doing his own thing. I'm gonna stay married. I'm gonna focus in on myself, being the best person I can be, and stay there. And I did all of this, and it worked. And all of a sudden, all these great things keep happening to me over and over again. When you do the right things keep happening to you. But they're not going to start coming until you make a choice to be better, to be different, to not follow that little devil in your head going, he's married, but it's okay. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Every woman that I coach will be grateful if every woman out there who leans into someone who's married says no. Say no. Let him go. Turn around. There's probably 10 other guys who are single. It's hard out there. Totally hard out there. If you need help with marriage, if you need help with dating, I'm here. But you don't even need to talk to me to know. Do the right thing. Always. But I'm here if you need me. Thank you so much for listening today. And please, please, please share this with as many people as you can. It helps this channel grow. I, as a marriage advocate who works endlessly to keep people married so that I can save all those children from the devastation of seeing their parents split or go through hell, plus we stop the generational curse from continuing. In fact, I can't even tell you how many people I talk to who tell me, my husband's dad left him when he was 13. And I say, no. Okay, how old is your kid? Your husband just left. How old is your kid? And the answer is, 13. It's generational trauma. And it continues, and it's going to continue generation after generation until someone changes something. Why can't it be you? Why can't it be you? It can. And if you need my help, come to thewifeexpert.com. Thewifeexpert.com. I'm here. If you need me to speak at your church, let me know. If you want to talk to me, let me know. And pass this on. I love you all, and I'll see you guys next time.